I'm very glad that kneeling like that is a safe place now. It doesn't need to prove to me that everyone who kneels is willing to make some sacrifice. I'm actually forget about critiquing that. I'm much happier that we at least temporarily, at least at this moment in place and time, right, exist in an environment where it is actually a safe place to say Black Lives Matter. That doesn't require at this moment sacrifice. I wasn't sure I'd ever live to see it in my lifetime, yet at least temporarily, here we are.
I wanted to commend and applaud both teams last night and the NBA as a whole for recognizing the power in the platform and really capitalizing on the moment, showing unity in that embrace. You know, there was that epic picture last night of LeBron James with his fist up in the air and standing and constantly bringing to attention some of the systemic injustices that are happening in our country. Is something that I think these NBA players, WNBA players, and athletes across the world have done an incredible job. I also, last night, on listening to the TNT broadcast with Charles Barkley, he made a really interesting comment. And I took to Twitter last night to really stand by it. You know, he said, it's incredible to see the unity that NBA players have collectively on this platform. But at the same time, if you do not kneel, that does not make you a bad person, nor should people vilify you if you choose not to kneel. Now, why I tweeted last night that I firmly stand by Charles Barkley's statements is I have Black friends who have served in the military. They did not find it disrespectful to what Colin Kaepernick did, but they also decided that they still want to stand because of people that they've lost in respective wars, that they fought with side by side, countless souls that were lost. So they choose to have their fight in a different way. And I just want to give this to everybody out there because it caused a really interesting reaction last night to hear people who are extreme on both sides start to fight about the comment by saying the people that were quick to jump on Colin Kaepernick for utilizing his platform and spreading his word, I just want to make sure that we're not going to be hypocritical and sit there and say because somebody else chooses not to kneel that we're going to vilify them and we're going to make them out to be bad people. And now look, I'm not advocating for systemic racism and people that decide to stand for that. Not at all. I'm a Black man. I understand that the words of Black Lives Matter, what it means, even though I would question to a degree some of the fine print if you look on their website for some of the things that Black Lives Matter, the political movement, stands for. But I do want to say that having my friends in the military pose that argument to me multiple times, the one thing that we have to make sure that we have, guys, we have to continue to evolve the way we think. And we can't combat extremism with extremism. I'll leave it to that, Stephen A.
Right. The minority should always be protected from the tyranny of the majority.
I'm with you, Max.
All right.
No, I have to admit that. Go ahead, Molly. What you say?
No, go ahead. You know what, Stephen A., it's just the delay feels extra long today, so sometimes I feel the pause. I don't know if you guys are done or you want to say something else, so please go ahead.
For me personally, I have to openly confess that this is not a subject that I enjoy. And the reason why, and by that I mean it's not an enjoyable subject to be honest with you, because anytime we've got to talk about racial oppression, racial inequality, or anything of that ilk, the reality is that, again, the fact that we have to talk about it means it exists, which means that it's a blemish, a significant blemish on our society. Having said all of that, I think the thing that really, really irks my nerves is that I want to sit up there and give the players all the credit in the world for kneeling. The players, the coaches, team personnel, everybody took a knee, and that's fine. And obviously nobody should be insulted for that. They did the right thing as far as I'm concerned, because Colin Kaepernick had a right to do it. Not only did he not violate any laws, it was within his constitutional right, and more importantly, the NFL didn't have a policy mandating that you couldn't kneel for the national anthem, so he was never in violation of even any NFL bylaws. To me, that's when I look at protests that take place last night, and I address it with just mixed emotions. On one hand, I want to applaud the players LeBron and everybody else in between for taking the stance that they took. On the other hand, I want to say, where the hell were you back in 2016, 2017? I mean, you're talking about guys, usually when people are a bit reluctant to take positions, it's because they take into account the ramifications, guys, okay? And whether we like it or not, when you talk about provoking real change, it usually involves real sacrifice. So we get all of that, okay? Some people are willing to make those sacrifices, some people are not. What I'm looking at these players and saying to myself is this: what sacrifice really would it have been for you to take that position back then if you were so supportive of Colin Kaepernick's position? The reality is that we talk about, at least when it pertains to the stars in the NBA, LeBron James is close to a billionaire. Steph Curry's making over $200 million. Russell Westbrook making over $200 million. I mean, Kyrie's at $140 million. Dwight Howard has made over $235 million in his career. The list goes on and on and on. And so when we talk about the sacrifice, when it comes to these particular players, you might have suffered to some degree from the PR perspective. But outside of that, was your quality of life going to be compromised? Chances are absolutely not. And so when I see something like yesterday, I'm saying, look, where were you then? Because listen, I was on the record back in 2016. Listen, I applaud Colin Kaepernick's right to do it. I wouldn't have done that. That's not a position that I would have taken. And I maintain that position to this day. It hasn't changed. But if I was going to take a knee today, I would have took a knee back in 2016 or 2017 because the actions that were exercised against them were so flagrantly biased, were so flagrantly prejudiced that you wonder, how could you not stand up for them? I mean, we've been on the air. Max, you too, Jay, you as well, and others. We're like, wait a minute. The NFL is blackballing this man? Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.